Good morning, everyone. So this session will be recorded, and we will have it for you to listen to in the YouTube channel. And what I want to say is that this class is going to be a very interactive session, so expect a lot of participation from you guys. And first, before we go on to our case study, what I would want to brief you is about the exam techniques, right? So I want to ask, I know that Adrian also spoke to you about the exam techniques and you did a few mocks with him, right? What are some of the key things that you identified, so that I will not repeat myself? Adnan, anything from you? Anish, anything that you thought, yes, this is a technique that I need to develop? Did something strike you when you started writing your answer?
Basically, dividing the task into subsections. Yeah. And creating key points, and then developing on those. That's the technique I think we understood.
Say it again, Anish. It was not clear. Say it again.
Basically, dividing the task into subsections.
Yes.
And then expanding on your individual points.
Correct. Yes. Very good. That's one of the key things, because identifying what are the questions that's asked in that one question is the first thing that you need to do, right? Yeah. Because then you know what areas that you need to tackle. Because I've got students coming to me and saying, oh, well, I got moderate for my all 4 sections. They've said moderate in my competencies and I've failed. How did this happen? What is it? So when you go deeper into it and then analyze and also look at what the examiner has to say, basically what's happened here is, there have been 3 parts to the question, but they have answered only 1 part.
Yeah.
Right? This is a classic example, and the students repeat it over and over again. So this is a trap that you should not fall into. Okay?
Yes.
Yeah, because anything else from you that you identify, you say, yes, this is something I need to bear in mind? Anything? Because?
No, I'm good just now, Anju. Thank you.
Right. Okay. Zubair, anything else that you identified, and from an exam technique perspective?
Hello?
Yes, can hear you. Yes.
So yeah, I would second what Anish has said. One needs to identify what has been asked, and then secondly, Adrian put it down very beautifully in terms of how you structure your answer. Putting the headings there, and then introducing your point, communicating your point, and then the implications. Then there were other points like the benefits and the drawbacks. I think these are very, very, although very basic, but somewhere down the line we all probably have moved away from it. But these are very crucial and very refreshing in terms of bringing all this back into a session and coming back to the drawing board and understanding what has been asked. So I felt those were the key points for me.
Right. Yes, anyone else?
Yeah, what Adrian called the kind of the 5-step approach.
Uh-huh.
So funny enough, but you don't need to read everything first. Get to the question. The question first. Write it, clarify it for you, and then go back to the document. Read it in full. Collect some more information from the reference material, and then you start typing from the from the points to the details, meaning that you really start with the the subject, and then you, on each and every question you start like feeding subjects and points you want to make to the examiner, and then you go back and give more details, and then you go back and give the impact. But really a top-down approach when it comes to write your answer to make sure that you don't fail or you don't miss any question because of time and time management.
Yes.
And by going really from the message you want to communicate to the more, giving more and more details, you know, like, layers after layers, giving more and more details and structure to your answer.
Right, okay. So now I'm going to jump into the Dropbox. And first I'm going into sharing the screen, right, with you. And you would see this is the Dropbox, okay. You guys will be given the link. So if you have not got that email, which you should have got, please let me know, right, and I will resend it. Now all the questions are in one folder. We've got all the reading materials as well for you, and what I would like to start off is with the strategic analysis, right? And it starts off with actually looking at the exam itself, right? What the examiner has to say. Okay, so 1 second till I make it full screen. Now the other part of it is when you go into this exam or when you're studying for this particular exam, you need to really truly believe that you are working for this company. You need to immerse yourself in this particular role. Doesn't matter what role you do now, right? If it's a junior role, then what this position is called for, never mind. But in this context, you need to really breathe and live this role and really go on reading it on a daily basis, right? This case study. Take at least one page, read it in the morning, take another page in the evening, read it, because you need to be really familiar with it. And then another aspect of it is also looking at the industry, right? Looking at what sort of an industry this is and any articles that you can find on this industry, right? You can go on the internet, CNN, BBC, Bloomberg. This is a very active industry, so you'll have plenty of information. And in one of the sessions we will ask you, some of you, to bring in examples as well, so it will help you to do these. Just go into to try to figure out one company, right, and see what have they done. There are companies that have gone into bankruptcy, right? You need to have a look at them as well. Just read that article, because the trick is when you write your answer, you can include this in your examples, right? You can include this in your answer. Now, so it will be a scale score. You know about it. I'm not going to elaborate more on this. We have got the 4 competencies, right? And there will be strong, moderate, fail grading that will be given against that. And at times you will get above 80, but if you have not achieved the competency that you should, they will fail you. So we had a student, again, he's got 85 marks, not scored on leadership competency well, and he failed the exam. Okay, so you need to be quite careful when you're structuring the answer. Now at this point in time, I must emphasize, you should not launch into your answer straight away. You need to have an answer plan, okay? spend maximum 10 minutes in your answer plan. That will help you immensely, because that will give you the structure that the examiner is looking for. Put down your 4 competencies. State, okay, what can I apply, right, from my competency? What can I apply here in this context? You very correctly said, first identify the number of questions that are there. Underline them, highlight, these are the questions in your answer plan. And then say, right, let me put the 4 competencies, and what can I bring them? Then you look at what are the models that I can bring into this, the theoretical models, right? So you can see there is a very nice structure happening, okay? Even if it's an ethical question and you can see it blatantly, yeah, this is unethical. You cannot say, okay, this is an unethical situation, you should not do this, you need to get out of this situation as soon as possible. If you give an answer like this, again, the examiner will fail you, because you have not gone through the process, because he or she, the examiner, is looking for that structured approach in how you arrived at that particular conclusion, right? Now, that is how to pass the exam, right? Now, well, there is how to fail as well, okay? We've just mentioned. And in this case, remember, all of you have not come through the OT exams. I think most of you, that's objective type questions, because there they will ask you the theory aspects, they'll test you on those. Here they are looking at the application of it, right? So hence you need to know your models, the theory aspects of it, and how to apply it into your scenario, right? So competencies, we spoke about the competencies. We said they are graded, strong, moderate, and fail. So I'm looking for strong competencies, right? That's what we have to aim for in your answer. Now, in your role, it's a strategic role that you're performing. You can see in the operational level, you're looking at more technical, operational person, a finance officer, yeah? But in your case, you're a senior manager reporting to the board, providing your advice. So all your competencies are more or less equal. You need to have them, equal competencies, right? As you can see, at a managerial level, you have people reporting to you. Your competencies are, again, the technical is a bit more in this space, but when it comes to strategic, all competencies are equal, okay? And you can see this in your real life situations as well. Now, this is a very interesting slide for me, okay? Because the first bullet points answer, find out what the requirements are. Answer all the requirements. If you answer only 3 out of the 4, again, you will fail, right? Because that signifies you have not identified the questions that he's posed. So I would suggest strongly that you immediately highlight, or you state, these are my areas, the top requirements, these are the requirements, the main requirements for this question, and those are going to be your headings. In that way, you will not miss it, right? You will not miss it. So at least, let's say you run out of time, the examiner sees, well, at least the person has identified the 4 requirements. And the person has written for 3 quite well. The 4th one, the person has written some bullet points, but that's fine, because the person has tried. The structure is good, okay? Your pass rate is pretty high at that point in time. Logical, coherent answers. Don't go all over the place trying to come to the point. Yeah, because you do that, and then again you run out of time, because examiner is asking you a question and you not answered it in the correct manner. You said everything else. This is kind of a kitchen sink answer, right? Theories, models, the principle, bring this in. That's what the bullet points 4 and 5 are talking about. Okay? Bring those into your answers. Why? I just mentioned, if it's an ethical question, there is a structure in which you need to answer your ethical question. Follow that, because that's the CIMA. CIMA follows that. They want you to answer in that particular structure because it covers very well all aspects to it. Know the code of conduct very well. Memorize the principles. It's very important. Conform to the format required. If they're asking you to write an email, not a report. As soon as you write a report, there again, these are things that you will get into big trouble, that he may fail you, right? Because I asked for an email, you wrote a report. If they're asking for a set of slides, put it in a slide format, right? I know that it's not going to be PowerPoint, right? But put it in a slide format so that they understand, right, this is the format the student has followed. We've asked for that, and you've not gone and written a report. Yeah. Now, the rest of the bullet points, right? We're talking about 7 onwards, right? From here onwards. What we are doing here is actually, this is our marketing tactic, right? This is our marketing tactic to basically make it easy for the examiner to give us marks, right? Short, concise sentences with less punctuation. If you have long sentences, right, and then you have long paragraphs, right, and you got 3-4 points in there, the examiner has to go on looking for your points, right? And imagine this person is correcting maybe 100, 200 answers, right? If you do not make things easy for this person, it's not going to happen, right? So you've not made it easy for yourself. Headings, subheadings, again, you're highlighting the important points, right? Short paragraphs and making a separate paragraph for each point. Again, you're showing the examiner, okay, I'm talking about one point here, and then the next point. It makes it easy for the examiner to read and give you marks. Yeah. Selective underlining. What's the point in underlining the whole answer? You're not providing that emphasis. Yeah. So you need to, when you need to emphasize certain points, highlight only those. Of course, answer within time. Now, if you finish your first question within, let's say, from the 60 minutes, you utilize 50 minutes. You go to the next question thinking, oh, well, in the next section, I've got 60 plus this 10. No, you're wrong. If you go ahead to your next question will start at the time you start answering that question, and you cannot go back. You have to go on answering that till you finish, and they will only give you 60 minutes to answer that particular question too, even though you had 10 minutes extra in the previous answer and you brought it to this. There's no carry forward concept here. They will give you, even if you finished early, okay, fine, you start the next question, I'm going to give you 60 minutes. That's about it. Yeah. So please remember this when you try to answer. Now, the next one, which I've not mentioned here, it's quite important, is when you type, it has to be at least 20 words per minute, right? So that signifies the length of your answer, right? 60 minutes, how many words? 60 multiplied by 20, maximum. Okay, so that's the kind of length they're expecting, right? So they're looking for the the depth and the breadth in the answer. Right? So practice your typing, right? The typing skills have to be pretty good. I would also urge you to go and visit the Pearson VUE sites, or the centers that you plan on going and sitting for the exam. Now, I had a comment from one of the students who attended the sessions, and he said, it was center was not that the infrastructure was not good, right? So I urge you to go and actually physically see this location. Tell them to show you around where the CIMA exam is going to be held, okay? And because there are multiple sites, if you're in Dubai, there are multiple sites here, multiple locations, so choose a correct location. I heard from my students, the one in Knowledge Village is pretty good, okay? So please do go and say it, because the student who could not get through said the computer was not good. He couldn't type fast enough. There was problems with the computer, and also there was issues with the seating and etc. So please, I would encourage you to go and visit the location. Yeah. And the next one, answer the question. This seems very simple, isn't it? You don't realize how many people, how many students have given answers to a different question, okay? Because as soon as, particularly if you're coming from the CA background, chartered accountancy background, as soon as they see the numbers, right, they get very excited. In the question, there are numbers displayed, but actually the question they're asking you is something else, but they talk about the numbers, right? I had plenty of students who've given me fantastic answers, but to different questions than what I have asked them. Again, it's a fail, right? The examiner cannot give you any marks. So the more you prepare, the better it is. You can never be over-prepared, right? You can never be over-prepared. So the more questions you answer, the better it is. So this is the reason why we urge you to write your answers and send it back to us. We will correct it, right? We will correct them and guide you how to avoid certain patterns of answering, right? So it's important, you need to provide your answer to us. Now, a strategic question will ask for a different approach from an operational question. It is more complex, and at this senior level, you need to give them recommendations. That's what they're asking for, right? Recommendations. Now, examiner's report in May 2016, this is what he had to say. Ethics was one poor area. They could not even name the ethical principles. So CIMA is focusing a lot on ethics. So please go through it. You can easily score marks here, right? So don't miss that opportunity. Find the ethical, they couldn't even recognize the ethical issue, right? Financing, the lack of ability was surprising. So interpretation, and also this is your F3, right? Some funding questions will come in. You need to look at the theories behind it, principles behind it. The main problems were candidates failing to answer what was asked, and also writing everything new on the topic being asked. There was a question on value chain, right? They mentioned the value chain, and the question was, and they specifically state you don't have to draw the value chain, you don't have to state explicitly what it is. However, still the candidates went on to explain about what is a value chain, brought in the sections of value chain, explaining in a theoretical sense, even though it was explicitly mentioned you should not do it, right? So do not fall into this trap. You can use the value chain, say how the value chain can be applied from a structural perspective. How can you apply the concepts into your answer, right? In this particular business scenario, how can you use the value chain? So they're happy about, they've said something good as well. It's also good to see most candidates try to answer the relevant models. Sorry, there's one point I missed. Most candidates answering the variance attempted all 3 questions, but some missed out on specific parts. That's what we said before as well. So you need to understand what are the sub-questions they're asking in this one question. Okay, and then of course the last one is the time management. Yeah. Let's go to the next. Right. Now I will have a discussion with some of you, right? So you are in a very senior position. You're a senior finance manager focusing on strategic and special projects, right? So what type of projects, strategic projects, do you see in this particular organization? If somebody can answer this question, please.
What can be a strategic project is external acquisition. Can be as well a vision on markets, and on products,
right,
and on company organization.
Right. So when you look at an acquisition, you're going in for an acquisition, and what are some of the key things, that activities that you will be doing for an acquisition?
The assessment of this acquisition.
Yes.
But then potentially the team that you will need to go through this acquisition process.
Right.
And then how to fund. What are the funding mechanism or the value generation of this acquisition?
Anything else? Anyone? Anything else? We will also look at, so we mentioned the word due diligence. That's one thing that needs to happen. Another very important aspect is your stakeholders. How would your stakeholders view this acquisition? Right? That's an important part. When it comes to strategic special projects, we will always use a model called SCS model. If you've not gone through that, we will go through it now, so you will know by the end of this class what a SCS model is and how to apply. I love that model because it's so gives you a fantastic structure, and it also can be applied in most cases, right? And so let us go to the history. So if you look at the history of this particular company and your role, what are some of the opportunities, what are some of the things that you could do in this context? Anyone? So what are some of the great opportunities that's there, and what can you see as things that you can do here?
If I can say, I think first of all, the great opportunity or the great fact is that the business is profitable and the market was growing to date.
Yeah.
Okay, and another meaning looking forward as opportunities, we saw a lot of different other renewable energies that we are into, and that each of those could present a new product and a new evolution for our business.
Yeah, so they're actually pretty well set up, isn't it? They're doing very well in one area, that the area that they're in, and we could also say we're kind of in the growth phase, isn't it? This industry is actually taking off, and it's a very new industry. Yeah. Also, there's a lot of controversy linked to this industry. And also, if you look at it, the cost of producing alternate energy, whatever it may be, you need to compete with your traditional energy, right? Like the fossil fuel. Now, particularly nowadays, it's going at a very low price, right, compared to your alternate energy. So you're competing with an energy source which is at a very low price, right? And this means your production costs need to reduce more and more. Yeah, this is generally when you look at the industry. And also, we are in a phase, if you can see, it's like technology, right? This is cutting edge. We need technology to harness this alternate energy, right? That's the underlying thing. Technology becomes your kind of the enabler, right? Because we have had this kind of energy, wind, and if the solar, the sun, energy from the sun, energy from the wind. I mean, we have had these before, right, for millions of years, but no one was able to tap into it. Why? Because we didn't have the right technology or the know-how. So now currently the technology is the backbone for this particular industry. So we have this kind of a very different PLC where you have the early adapters, and then you have a kind of a big chasm, and then it takes off, right? So we have many products in this kind of PLC. Now, if you look at the kind of structure that you will be using, right, is you will use a rational model for the strategic planning, right? So what's our vision in this company? Anyone can tell me what is the vision of this company?
Should I?
Sorry?
Should I go ahead? Yeah.
Yes, please go ahead.
The vision is really driven by two factors. Is the promotion of the renewable energy on one hand, and generation of value to the shareholders, isn't it?
Yeah, well, they have stated the vision there, isn't it? In your pre-scene, it's there.
Yes.
What does it say? Because that sets the scene of the company. That gives you a lot of clues, actually.
Sustainable energy for the world.
Right. So if you look at Google, right, what do they want to do? They want to structure the world's data, okay? And look where Google is. So these guys want to provide sustainable energy to the world. And they have not even gone out of Brisbane, right? But they have a very, very big vision. That's fine. But you can see where the potential is. So what do you think are the things that this company needs to do to be providing sustainable energy to the world? What do you think? And another thing I want to ask you is, do you think we will be able to, and the current structures, current positioning, all the resources, do we have this to achieve that mission currently? Do we have that? Any ideas?
We have potential competences, but some of resources, financial resources to provide sustainable energy for the world. We don't have that yet.
Correct. Yeah. So, do we have the money? Do we have the funding to do this? It's a question mark, correct? Do we have the people? Anything there? Do we have the people? So I need you guys to keep talking to me, right or wrong, and say it doesn't matter.
I think the people, they have the market share in the domestic market in Friesland, but geographical expansion and outside Friesland, they don't have resources.
Right. Okay. So the past, from the beginning to now, what has been their growth strategy?
Focused on wind and focused on Friesland.
Right. So has it been an organic growth or acquisition, mergers? What sort of growth was it?
Organic.
Yeah. Right. So the past X amount of years, it has been an organic growth. Now, if you want to provide to this alternate energy to the world, it's a bit difficult to be in this kind of a situation, isn't it? The organic growth. What sort of growth would you look at? What forms would you be looking at?
And if they want to go into different sort of alternative energy like solar, it should be acquisitive. And if they just want to, expand geographically, it could either be acquisitive or organic.
Right. Any other views?
Should be a mix of different options. If they want to achieve the mission, they will have to go through potential acquisition, potentially merger as well.
Yeah.
And as well.
Some strategic alliances, right?
Exactly.
Right. We need to have some strategic alliances. Look at what Etihad is doing. Right. Etihad is about 12 years old, right? So for them to grow at the pace of, if they're looking at a market share, if you're looking at a big market, and how are we going to kind of compete? And if they're looking at Emirates, right? Emirates is organic growth, the Emirates Airlines, right? But if you look at Etihad, it's not. There's a lot of alliances that they've formed, right? And that's the way that they choose to grow. There's nothing right or wrong about it, but that's the option, that's the strategic option that they've chosen. So similarly, when it comes to this particular company, if they're looking at a growth in a big growth spurt, they need to look at how best, are there any strategic alliances, anything that they can go into with, because they're looking at the world, not just Friesland. If you look at Google, right now, for them to move to that next stage, they need to be a listed company, so they issue shares, right? And then they were able to get the funds to go to that next level. Otherwise, they would have never been able to move. Even though they had the intelligence, they had the people, they need money to get to that next phase completely, right? So you can see a lot of, they've got a big vision, mission statements happening, but actually where they are is a bit of a kind of a situation where they are is they're comfortable in their current position, but that's not enough, right? That's not enough. And also, if you look at their position audit and you see their strengths and weaknesses, I mean, they have very good strengths, isn't it? They've got a lot of opportunity, a lot of strengths, but some of their weaknesses particularly is because they're focusing on one area, Yeah, focusing on one area. Now, they look at the strategic choices, what we can do. We'll come to that. How can we grow? And then you look at what are the products that we've got. Can we go to a new market with these products, right? And evaluating any option. This is where we said the SAFS model: suitability, acceptability, feasibility, and sustainability. The other S is not here, but in my other book, other set of slides, it's reflected. Okay. And when you are trying to implement any strategy, you need to look at all these factors, right? It's important that you look into it. So here we go. Energy to the world, right? Strategy is creating shareholder wealth, and competition. Well, how do we compete in this, right? How do we bring in some other attribute where we can compete in the market but not on price? How can we do this? Have you thought of any other attribute that they can bring in? Any ideas? Because with that, your strategy changes, right? You're thinking of, okay, I'm going to do this. So currently, what do they offer? What is the product or service that they have?
Just the consultancy.
Right. So my strategy, if I come up with another way of some other activity, it could change my strategy. So what other things can these guys do?
They can do the turnkey projects. They can offer afterlife or after sales service or maintenance management contract, or they can even go and guarantee the power.
Right.
Out.
So tell me something like what they have currently. If you look at those products, it's special products, isn't it? Special. They say these are initiatives, and it is one-time initiatives. Am I right? They say it's only one time. And so, like you mentioned, maintenance, right? And managing the client's activities, some of these things would actually be able to, you'll be able to have an income, an ongoing income. Yeah. So that's another thing that they can look into, where you can have an ongoing income. You get the deal through your consultancy. Once it goes through, these guys currently walk out. There is no management of that. They don't get into the operational side at all. Okay. Any other thoughts that you guys want to share?
So will we talk about like vertical integration by saying entering into perhaps strategic alliances with OEM manufacturer, meaning turbine manufacturers?
Yes. Right. So it's very interesting when we get into that as well. It's a good strategy, but we also need to think of, like, generally, for example, where do you think the manufacturers are based? Have you done any research? Where do you think the manufacturers are based?
There is Suzlon in India, there is Siemens, there is the Siemens manufacturer in Europe.
Right. So there is in India. Where else? Where else do you think the manufacturers are?
Europe, Northern Europe, as the tradition of
yeah, that's a tradition.
Wind manufacturing.
Yeah. Anywhere else you think? Sorry? So Asia would be one other place, right? So they might be looking at places where it is manufacturing. Why am I saying looking at areas where it is low cost to produce, right? So with that comes a lot of other factors because these manufacturers. Sorry, you're breaking up. Can you explain again? Sorry, can you state again what you said? Okay, so what I mentioned was when you're looking for partners, wherever it may be, right? Especially if you're looking at in Asia, you need to ensure that the practices they have in that particular company are sustainable, ethical, right? Because you're having this alliance partnership with them. It's not even if they're a supplier, or even if you have a joint venture with them, same thing, same concept, because you need to look at their practices, their labor practices, their purchasing practices. They need to be sustainable, right? Because always you will look at that CSR angle, corporate social responsibility angle, ethical angle in all the activities that we do. Okay. So this is about the future, the cost of wind energy, and Denmark, right? What they do, their targets, how they're trying to move ahead. But however, there's a bit of a controversy here, okay? And the government supports this. There is a lot of government backing. However, there's on the other side, when it comes to traditional, let me go to that article. It's not here, it's in another place, where they say there is an issue with Denmark because they also have the traditional fossil fuel and how they work on those, right? Now, there are definite targets as well. So they have in any particular country, it's best that you have targets and then you drive towards them. Now, I want to very quickly at this point in time start on a question, and what I want you to do is to give me an answer plan, right, within 7 minutes for this particular question. Okay. We've discussed quite a bit on this industry and how you can look into in a different angle this industry. So I want to give you a question now. Anything from you guys? You want to ask me any questions from what we've seen so far?
Can we name in the Anju, can we name into our reply, our answers, company like Vestas and other existing example of companies, and
correct.
For example, saying that we propose we should approach Vestas, GE, and Alstom for strategic alliances. Should we put those names? Is that fine?
That's fine, because you can mention because generally they will link another company saying, okay, XYZ company is a potential we can have a strategic alliance with them, right? And then if you want, you can mention in a real life example as well, saying, well, if that particular company has similar characteristics of this other company, right, and your company that you mention, and saying these are the reasons that you will go for it. And so, for example, another company did have a strategic alliance with the company that you mentioned because of these characteristics. Of course you can, right? So then the examiner sees, well, you understood how to look at due diligence and how to go about investing.
Here, thank you.
Right, let me share this with you. So what I will do is give you 7 minutes for you to answer this. I should not put it on full screen again. Starting now, I'll give you 7 minutes. What I'm looking for is an answer plan. Okay, so your time's up. Would anybody like to share your screen with us and show your answer? Because it's important that you write on your computer and then share it with us as well. Well?
I'm sorry, Anju.
Yes?
The barrier. So, I mean, I've not put it on the computer. I put it on my pad here. Is it okay to talk you through this?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But are you able to share it? Share your screen, or is it just a answer pad or like?
Answer pad. I've written it down.
Okay,
actually.
fine. Okay.
Yeah.
So try to. Sorry, Jubei, try to do it on the computer always, because it'll help you. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So, yeah, so there are two questions actually. One is the should AN invest,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, with this new company, and then how the evaluation of the impact on the internal and external stakeholders.
Yes.
So the first bit, I've broken it down by what are the benefits and drawbacks to if we invested with this new company in Denmark, and then there is the evaluation of listing down the who the internal stakeholders are,
Mm-hmm.
and who the external stakeholders are.
Mm-hmm.
So broadly, this is the outline of the answer.
Right. Any other models that you included that you said, yes, these are the models that I need to use?
So on the investment side, basically we're looking at the Ansoff model in terms of new markets.
But have you mentioned it there?
No, I haven't mentioned it.
Right.
I haven't mentioned.
Right. So this is where we're saying you need to write it down, because when you start answering, it escapes you. You get involved in the answer. If you're not written it down, you miss it, right? And it happens. It's very normal. Right. Anyone else who wants to share your screen with us and talk through the answer? Anyone else?
I can go, but I have, as Zubair, I have also written down. I didn't write it on the.
Yeah, so just want to find out anybody who's written it in the computer and can share with us. Is there anyone who's written in the computer? Or you guys don't want to share with us? More the latter, maybe. Right. Okay, so what have you written? Have you come up with different points? You're
asking me,
yes.
Anju?
Yes. Yes.
No, I mean, exactly the same as Zubair said for the second question, identify who are those internal and external stakeholders. I had broken it down, the internal ones as employees and families, shareholders, and the partner universities, etc. And the external stakeholders, I have broken it down them into suppliers, government, and the customers. And then I have further outlined the approach that who will talk to them from the organization and what will they talk about. And what are the points we need to discuss with them and where we need their feedback, what we need to consider. In first question, it's as simple as why list out why should we go and invest in the project, what are the pros and what are the cons.
Right, okay. So what are the pros and cons that you have highlighted here? Anything that you highlighted or no?
No, I just outlined.
Okay, fine. Right. Have you, again, in that context, have you used any models?
Yeah, so what I was thinking to do is that work out those investment models and talk about those four, whether it's a asset based or technology based or dividend based or the investment models.
Right. So you're looking at the investment models, right? Right. Now, then the next part is we talk about the board is divided over the proposal if we should proceed with it. Outline the approach we should take in evaluating the impact of this project to both internal external share stakeholders. And what you've done here is listed down, these are my internal, these are my external stakeholders, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other models that you've used here? So any others who have come up with more questions or different models or different ways of approaching?
Yeah, I don't think I did it properly, but really when it comes to the evaluation of the impacts, I really took a two-step approach.
Yes.
I really thinking of the strategical alignment. Okay, explaining with perhaps mentioning taking the point of the PESTEL model.
Right.
Or the model, and saying that we align on technology, on political, environmental elements. And then the second, the evaluation of the impact is a kind of risk assessment, and considering that some of the key risks that need to be evaluated before entering into the transaction.
Yeah, so good.
Financial risk.
Yeah.
Financial risk. What are the ones risk we should look at? What are the so this was really the way I designed my answer.
Right. So, guys, what sort of an investment do you think this is? How much value do you think this would be?
I mean, comparatively, this would be, I think, in my view, is this. It's a low risk compared to going solo and diversifying. So you're actually going ahead with a company that is pretty. I mean, they haven't given much in terms of for the other company, but comparatively going solo, it seems to be a low risk.
Okay, right. So let me go into. Well, I will share my screen with you and ask you some question. Now, remember, if you need to think of this particular scenario, keep it in mind and see how you can apply the models, okay? Because that is important.
For sure, we have as well the if you talk about model academical models, we need to name ANSOF, the ANSOF matrix, and saying that it's a pure diversification from product and market. Is that what you're looking for?
Yes. Now, if I'm just sharing my screen. This is one beautiful model, right, which you can use in almost all your answers, right? Because in anything that you do, you have stakeholders, right? And in this case, you're specifically asking about your stakeholders, internal, external. Now, how do you need to negotiate, you need to basically understand who your stakeholders are and then come up with a communication. They're not asking you to do a communication plan, but you need to identify who are the ones who have high power, high interest, who can actually change and influence our company, and the way we do things, he can influence, right? You need to identify who these key players are. You need to engage with them closely. You need to identify, well, are they internal, external, and what type of communication strategy should we adapt to engage them, right? So from an external perspective, who do you think? Any ideas?
The government of Denmark.
Sorry, can't hear you.
The government of Denmark should be.
Sorry, you're breaking up, so I couldn't hear you. Internal.
Should be. We should be as a bad player invading the country, if you want.
Anyone else? Because I couldn't hear you. Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Yeah, sorry.
I think what he said was government of Denmark.
Government of Denmark.
As an external
yes,
stakeholder.
correct. Yeah.
And as an internal stakeholders, basically your employees need to be aware.
Mm-hmm. How can they influence you? And how can they be key players?
They will be. They can resist any change. They can go around disrupting the work.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be employees.
So imagine, guys, you're working. How many employees are here in this company?
It's around 124.
Right, okay. So we are going into a very strategic investment, potentially, with another company who's based in another country, right? So how would my employees be able to disrupt? So when you're answering, it has to be practical as well, okay? They can be a key player, but it might be not everybody. There can be certain people who can be key players, and you need to identify who would be these people.
Those would be the divisional heads.
And people who are very technical people, because they will. And people who would be interested to work in this new project, right? We'll have to find out who these people are. So internally, some of the key people, I would say, within the company, right? Because we need them to work with this new company, right? Some of the key players in the company, right? So basically, I'm looking for, you need to mention in your answer, I'm looking for high power, high interest, a group of people who we will be able to influence, who will be influencing this decision, right? They can actually support us or go the other way, right? Therefore, we need to engage with them, and you will mention the word Ansof as well, right, in your answer, because in this way you'll be able to get some valuable points, right? A key stakeholder, basically, this is a theory aspect. You need to involve in the decision making, right? In the decision making, So you need to involve them and engage and consult on a regular basis as well, right? Any questions in this one?
Hi, Anju. Basically, I wanted to ask is would AEN's competitors in Denmark who are providing a similar consultancy in wind power be considered as external stakeholders in terms of they would be viewing this joint venture as a threat to their own consultancy business?
That is in a different model, right? In this case, I'm looking at people who will work with me in this particular project.
Okay.
Right? That you will look at it from a Porter's 5-force model.
Okay.
Yeah. So be careful. Thanks for asking that question and clarifying, because any number of slides of mine would not have been able to pick it up. Thank you. That's a good point, actually, because you need to understand what model to use, and in both cases it's stakeholders, right? What you should be using. Any other questions? So the next one is, I won't dwell too much in the 5-force. I want to go into my other, this is my favorite. That's the Mandela's matrix is the second one, but this is my first, right? You're making millions and millions of dollars of investment. You need to look at it in this particular structure. This SAFS model, Johnson and Scholes, cannot go wrong, okay? When it comes to projects and investments, strategic decisions you're going to make, because this will give you that structure to say, is it suitable? Does it fit in with our strategy? Right? So you can answer those questions. Is it feasible? Do we have the funding? How are we going to get this funding? Is it feasible? Can we have, can we afford it? Acceptability is where the stakeholders part comes in, right? And then you can use another model like Mandela's matrix to talk about stakeholders, right? Sustainability. The chosen strategy meets all the above criteria. It is essential that the strategy also passes through the final test of sustainability, right? Is it sustainable, right? In this case, we can very nicely use this particular SAFS model, and you will have a lot of projects that's happening. Okay, you will have lots of projects that's happening, investments, acquisitions, decisions to make. You put all of them through this and try to answer. Yeah, try to answer those what the examiner is asking. Any questions?
So this model is called SAF model?
Yes, SAF.
Or you said it's Mandela's model?
No, Mandela's matrix is this one. Talks about my stakeholders. Okay, the stakeholders.
Right.
This is a separate one.
Right.
And then we have this particular model which talks about our the analyzing a particular chosen strategy. Whether if it's an investment, so we're analyzing that. Any questions on this?
So just to clarify, so this is every time we have a project, an investment that we are meant to take a view on, we can use this model, correct?
Yes, we can. So because do you see the structure, how you can use it? Now, if you had this model in front of you, if you had mentioned this, how would you apply it in this particular case? Can you explain?
So suitability, there are pros and cons. It's alternative energy, but it's not something we know of because we know wind. So that's a con. But strategically, it's aligned. Feasibility, considering or assuming that the firm we are going to partner with is a specialist in wave energy, I think it that makes it feasible, given if they are the experts, it will be good for AEN because we want to expand in alternative energy.
Right. Anyone else? Okay, so now you know how you have to kind of answer certain questions, right? All your questions, because the examiner is looking for not only just an answer with your, just give an answer, with your experience, or just make an assumption and provide an answer, because you can say yes, they should be going ahead with this investment, and you can say these are the reasons, but that's not what this examiner is looking for. They want to see a very structured approach and a recommendation to it, and then you look at, of course, the risks as well. Now I will go to another question to see whether what we have been discussing so far, whether you've got it, and let's see whether we can go and do another question. This is what we did. Okay. Now, let's look at this question. Can you read it, guys? Or I will enlarge this. Hang on for a second. Right. Now you should be able to read it. Okay. Again, I've adapted something, this from our past paper, so it's good for you to do this. I'm going to give you 7 minutes for you to do this. Let me have a look at. Okay, this is from the case study, and okay, we have so get your case study next to you as well. The pre-scene. What I mean is the pre-scene. So read this part. I'll give you a minute to read this. Can I go to the next pages? So I will go to the next page. This is what the engineering does. It's there in your pre-scene, nothing new. So you can turn to your pre-scene, and I want to now I will give you 7 minutes from now. Okay, time's up. How did we do? So you would like to share your screen with me? Anish? Or Vikas?
Okay, I'll go.
Okay, go ahead.
I need to figure out how to do it.
Right, so just next to you, just right click where you might see share the screen. Yeah, I think you're going ahead. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. So what's the question being asked? Yes, Mohammed. Yeah, I know. No, I can see you. Yeah, I can see the screen very well. You're sharing it. I'm just wondering whether... Yeah, okay, don't worry. I'm unmuting. Yeah, I've unmuted you. You can talk now. I think we will be... Yeah, brilliant. We can hear you.
Actually, I joined quite late. So is that okay? What points I have to...
Right. So what is the question that they're asking? Okay. How many questions are there in that one question?
Does it make sense to start manufacturing our own turbines?
Mm-hmm.
And second one was how to communicate.
Okay.
So there will be like self-reliance. We'll be manufacturing our own turbines. We'll be having quality control. That would be in our hand. Diversification, new market like other markets. So we will be entering into new market. We'll be manufacturing turbines for ourselves as well as we'll be providing to other consultants,
Mm-hmm.
To other farms. There would be like mitigation of the risk. Some risk can be mitigated, like supply chain issues, availability of the turbines, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, if we see, this would be distraction from our core business.
Mm-hmm.
Like we are into consultancy only and we don't have technical knowledge to build turbine.
Right.
We have the knowledge to build the wind farms.
Yes.
And of course we need more finance. There can be, if we start building turbines,
Yes.
so there are already big competition. There would be changing technologies. There would be some disruptive technology.
That's why you're saying new market, and along with that you're getting risk, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Increased risk, yeah.
So for the communication, like internally, of course, directors are communicating, managers, we can take them into confidence with the meeting with core employees as well. We have to take the investor into confidence. And investors, customers, we can inform by email or we can call them that we are entering into manufacturing to get their support and their input about that. And then we can communicate to the government authority for their legal support. We can communicate what would be the benefit if we start manufacturing this in the breeze land. How many jobs like will be generating? Yeah, this can be communicated to the communities.
1 second, I need to stop you there. I need to stop you. So would this proposal make sense from a strategic point of view is a first. You've given advantages and disadvantages, right? Then we go into say, if we did decide to go ahead, what would be the issues that we would have to consider with respect to informing the stakeholders?
Okay. Like managers, they would be
what
interested.
would be
like,
the issues that we would have to consider, okay,
in the
in this context? Did you see the difference?
yeah,
Right.
like managers would be interested. Yeah.
Another thing is, guys, anyone who is out there, I want to find out from you, and I want you to critique this answer what Mohammed is given, because that way we will be able to learn, and I will be able to see whether you really understood what we have been talking the past 1.5 hours. Anyone who can critique?
And
Yes.
from my point of view, the first answer is really good. I mean, I'm impressed, and I believe this is really at the same time, and with the verbal explanation from Mohammed, we can really see that he has a foot on the ground and really understand what how will that make sense, and how to assess if it will make sense. Regarding the communication part, I believe this is more a shopping list, and where we should really, when it comes to issues, there is in the unseen document, we say that the board was really happy with the engineering team. We said that and basically this is really supportive, and the bargaining power is really with those guys. So if when we will communicate, and if we communicate to take care of the way Luke, who was leading the engineering before, might take our
Sorry, you're breaking up, Jafar. You're breaking up. Sorry. Right. Is there?
Might take our perception and our communication.
Sorry, you were breaking up there, so I couldn't hear you properly. Vikas, anything from you? Vikas, any input from you?
Yeah, just I'm same. I have the same opinion. I think Mohammed has listed advantages, disadvantages pretty well. But after what you advised, I tried to populate the SAF model.
Oh, brilliant, man! I have one person who used SAF as. That's great. Thank you. Yeah.
And after the SAF, I then went into the risk analysis. I'm basically saying it's capital intensive, and we don't have any previous experience of that. So it would be high risk and high impact and high probability. So the impact could be quite severe, and it needs to be, the proper risk mitigation plan needs to be done if we need to. It makes strategic sense, but we need to have a risk mitigation plan.
Right.
Given the risk.
What about the communication?
On the communication, I have just managed to list the internal and external stakeholders, and who would communicate with them, who will be the most effective person to communicate with them. And what would be the message, given what would be their concerns, because each of the shareholder or each of the stakeholder will have a different concern. So shareholder concerns would be different than employees, and it would be then further different from government authorities.
Right. So. Okay. Sujoy, anything from you? Thank you. Thanks, Vikas. Sujoy, anything from you? Or Anish? Well, now I think one of the key things has been, you guys have learned that we need to use the models, right? Even the advantages, disadvantage, even if you listed, Mohammed, it's good, but you need to bring in the SAFS model to structure it properly. Okay, that's a very important point. So that's good. Going forward, I'm sure you're going to use it. You will not miss it. The second part is we speak about the issues, right? It's very specifically stated they want to find out the issues. Now, if I read my question, I'm just going to go away from your sharing and going to share my screen. They're saying, if we did decide to go ahead, what would be the issues that we have to consider when with respect to informing the shareholders? Okay, it's asking about the shareholders. Okay, so I think most of us miss the point here. They're not asking about the stakeholders, they're asking about the shareholders and the issues. Okay, so we've missed that point entirely. Okay, because we spoke about stakeholders before, you remembered that, and then you looked at internal, external. They're not even asking you that question, right? So you can see how you have answered a different to a different question.
Right. I don't want to sleep. I just want to enjoy. It is missed, exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So here you would have got Mohammed, maybe a moderate, and you would not have managed to get through, particularly with this. But the good news is we have time. This is not the exam. Yeah. So we can go on improving. The reason you can see why I'm putting you on the spot and saying, right, you got 7 minutes, you need to come up with an answer plan. Now you're seeing when you do the answer plan, things that you miss and how you're going to bring those models into your answer. Because at the end of the day, this is a professional exam. They're expecting you to answer as a professional at a very senior level, bringing the theories into your answer, right? Because what they're saying is, I could get anybody off the streets and then ask them, okay, is it ethical or not? They could say, maybe it doesn't look ethical. Give that kind of answer. But this is not the kind of answer that we expect from a very senior person and who's qualified as a CGMA, right? So it is very important that you see yourself in that senior position. When they're looking at investments, they're looking at very massive investments, big money that they're going to spend, and also these are strategic projects. That means you're changing the direction of the company completely. Imagine the company that you're working, right? Mohammed, what sort of a company do you work in? Mohammed, what company do you work in?
We are into real estate investments, consultancy, transportation, like.
Okay, so real estate in UAE?
UAE, London.
Right. And is it consultancy that you mentioned?
We are also into consultancy.
Right.
Investments and investment consultancy.
So when you say investments, what does it mean? Do you fund projects, or are you a developer, or what is it? Or you provide consultancy?
We have our own funds. The family funds that we are investing into different projects.
Right.
And also we are facilitating some joint ventures.
Yes.
And we have been successful in making some big joint ventures in KSA.
Right. Okay. So that's your core product, right? What is something that if you're trying to do another thing completely different, not completely different, in this kind of property area. Okay, you're gonna go into hotels, right? Let's say you're trying to go into hotels. Now, investment in hotels, that's completely different to your core product that you've got currently, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, that'll change how your product is and how the whole portfolio will get viewed, right? You do not have currently any expertise in the hotel, the investment side of it. Maybe you want to go into operations as well, management, investment, owner operations, because you're very successful in one area. Now you want to get into this, right? So especially in KSA, I heard it's doing very well when it comes to hotels, right?
Yeah.
So you see the opportunity and you want to get into it. Big money, different strategy. You need to think of, well, how am I going to, what are the issues that will come up, particularly to my shareholder? Because now the shareholder, when they came in to this particular company and invested, they knew the company was doing one particular activity. Now you're moving into another activity. So you need to list down some of the issues that may come up, and also depending who your shareholder is, right? They may think, yes, go for it, because my risk appetite is fine. I can take that risk. But certain, like if you're in the retirement age, right, and you may think, no, this is not what I want to get out, because the risk is far great. So their kind of risk appetite also plays a part, and it will come to your issues. Any other questions, or you see anything else that you want to add?
Anju, I just want to ask, in the answer on the second element, the fact that Luke was ex-director of the engineering.
Yes.
Ex-director of the engineering.
Yeah.
Means that he has a lot of skin in the game. So how can we write that down? Or
sorry,
how can we
I didn't get it. So say it again.
Some emotion regarding this proposal.
Say it again.
How can we mention or write down that there is some emotion around this proposal?
Yeah, very, very good point, right? Because people have pet projects, never mind whether it's strategic and whether it fits the company's strategic objectives, right? You get emotional on certain things, and that's where when you have to clinically look at a project and state, well, does it fit to our strategic objectives, right? And in this case, it may well be you can justify it, right? Depending how you answer, you can justify it. But also, if someone has a more bias towards this, right, then you need to be quite clinical to state, well, this particular, and let's say he's a majority stakeholder, right? Let's say, because that's where the influencing part comes through, right? He wants to go ahead. The minority shareholders may not want to go ahead, right? Because they think it's a high risk project. So then you need to be able to advise how to balance this and to say, well, Luke is a major shareholder, but this is what he wants. But however, we need to consider the concerns of the minority shareholders as well, and maybe provide them options. Because it's a concern for them, but that needs to be addressed. You can't ignore it. You may not need to come up with an answer, but you like a conclusion, this is how you need to address it, but you need to say these are the kind of steps that you need to take to address this issue, because you see two sets of shareholders having different opinions. Did that answer your question?
It does. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? So what other things that I want to tell you? We'll close the session for today, but before we leave, what I want to tell you is that this online revision session is shared between myself, and there is another gentleman by the name of Kuma, who is an extremely experienced lecturer. Recently he had a bunch of students going through in the final this session, the strategic session, had 100% pass rate, which is amazing, right? So I want him to take some classes. I want you to take advantage of it, because he's from Sri Lanka. He's a president's advisor as well, right? So you got a person with very high caliber who will teach you, and he's got immense amount of experience, right? So he will be taking some classes and I'll be taking some sessions, right? I believe tomorrow's session will be taken by Kuma, right? Any other questions?
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I hope you had a good class and have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.